we're going to turn it over to Brian Leonard next. So Brian's the product manager for Integration Studio. He's got over 15 years of experience as an application and technical support engineer. And Integration Studio is a newer cloud technology that we have for developers out there. So Brian, take it away.
All right, thanks a lot. So can everybody see my screen? I've got some issues with screen sharing, taking a bit of delay. So I want to make sure everything's working here, but everything's good. Okay, I've got 10 minutes, so I figured I might as well start it off with a joke. So one of the few days back, I was walking through a quarry, you know, as most people do, and I said to the foreman, "Hey, man, that's a really big rock over there." Guy looks at me and says, "Boulder." So I puff up my chest. Look at that enormous rock over there. I'm just really glad that it's all muted right now, because I'm sure this thunderous applause.
We actually took everybody off mute right there, Brian, but I'm sure it was well received.
Oh yeah, that was well received. I'm sure
people were standing up and clapping.
All right, so on with the comedy. I guess it's not my strong point. So you've probably seen this before here with the edge to enterprise environment. So it involves a lot of key components within a system, your on-premise locations, your field devices, and then moving up into the cloud. You have various options there. Integration Studio is designed to be that development piece of that infrastructure. It's designed to be able to take your application, replicate what you've got on premise, and within wherever it's at. If it's on premise, it can be replicated up into the cloud really easily, simply, and it doesn't require much extra effort to provide this infrastructure. And one of the great things about it is that it comes with your development applications. So if you have development, especially if it's on subscription, you get a lot of added benefits to having that capability. So what is Integration Studio? Well, it's designed to be able to facilitate their project lifecycle. So as you may have seen this screen before, but it's designed to be able to take your applications and your infrastructure that you've got on premise and replicate that in the cloud, so you can more accurately depict a sandbox environment for your production. This can be replicated multiple times. You can set up a template that you've got, and then you can instantiate virtual machines based off that template, make changes. You can get rid of them, test upgrades, see what those processes are like, and move forward. And essentially just pay for the time that you're using those virtual machines. So again, what is it? So how do you set them up? This is sort of this is actually a screenshot of the system right here. In the system, I've got 4 virtual machines. I set one up as a GR node, a couple of AOS machines, and a storing machine there. I can set what sort of performance levels they're at, and I would pay accordingly depending on those performance levels. Then I would go in and say, oops, there we are. What would be on each machine? So what is each machine configured to be? Well, my GR node, that's going to be my development one. It's going to have all the bits and pieces on there. I could put everything on all the machines if I wanted to. It's again just a test, or I could just set one up as an AOS. I would just put the runtime and stuff on there. I can make one just InTouch applications if all you really care about is InTouch on there. You can set this is just an InTouch development environment there as well. So I'm going to kind of cycle through this animation really quickly. So you may have seen this animation before, but it's designed to be this environment in the cloud that you can have multiple users accessing at the same time. So this is the convergence of users being able to focus on this one particular environment is its goal. And so with that, you can invite new users if you're an SI organization. You can have your account that you set up. You can then be invited to end users' applications or their accounts. They can invite you. You can work independently of other SIs if you're an end user and you have multiple SI, maybe even multiple SI organizations working within your site. You can isolate them in their own silos, but using your same standards that you've set aside for your applications. So what's new with the 2020 R2 release? Well, we've obviously added 2020 R2 as an option to be able to pick within the applications. We actually go back to 2012, I think R2, I can't remember the exact name, but it's a 2012 iteration. So all the different versions up until then. And so if you have an older application you want to test an upgrade at, or even just support an existing installation of an older application, you can just be done right out of the box. No extra configuration required for that. RDP connectivity has been a security risk, as we found out recently. Security is a big factor amongst many organizations. Oh, that was weird. My application just broke out of presentation mode. Interesting. So we've made some enhancements for that. Specifically, one of the risks is that if you have a machine out in the cloud and you have an RDP client, or it's RDP capable, then other people can access those machines. So what we did was that we made an RDP whitelisting capability within the system. So you can say, well, we can still accept RDP connections because RDP has a lot of functionality in terms of copy pasting, and just the resolution matching is very, very good for that still. But we made it so that only IP addresses that you specify can access the virtual machines. And that can be done on a global level, on a whole account level. So you could say, okay, everybody sets all these users, and these are my IP addresses that would be used all the time for all the sessions that I've created. Or you can go down to the session level and say, just for this particular session, this customer or this IP address will be used. That's specifically good for that example that I said earlier. We have multiple SIs within the organization. You can set the global rule as being your IP address or your internal company IP addresses set for those whitelistings. And then for the session level, you can get down to say, well, just this SI's IP addresses can be used to access this machine. So another layer of security there. We've also added some cloud repository for subscription development. We've been talking about this in the past. We're starting to see it actually being used out in the field now. We have an InTouch and System Platform have the capabilities of having the cloud connectivity there. In the breakout room, I could show you a little bit of a demo on that. But for now, I can give you a demo of how this process works. So this is just an example of this cloud repository where you set up your applications in one environment, you do development of your industrial graphics, and then you set them up into the cloud, and then you can deploy them when they're being used. Eventually, these products are on the roadmap of being supporting the industrial graphics in the cloud through the cloud connectivity. We're bringing them on as we see as they're coming online. You can see the top 3 are the ones that are already set up for that. So you saw the joke, or you heard the joke, and now we're going to see a joke, and just me trying to do a live demo with a few minutes presentation. So here we go. I'm going for it, guys. Let's do this thing. So I've logged in to my Integration Studio, or actually my Connect account that has Integration Studio activated within my Connect account. And now that I've done this, we actually put a little banner here. So if you already have Integration Studio and you've already been using it and you've been connecting via RDP, and all of a sudden it doesn't work, we put this little banner to kind of remind you, now you have to whitelist yourself in order for it to actually work. So to do so, we'll create a new project here, another project template, if you will. And this is a set of instructions that I'm going to be using to create the virtual machine. So I'll just give this a name. We'll just call this 2020, oops, not 20, it was 2020 R2, it's called a 3 node. Okay, I don't really feel like giving it a description. Nobody wants to see me scramble to type. So here I'll do my system suite selection. There's all these versions, as I mentioned. We'll go back to 2012 patch 1 and everything in between. So I selected this version here. I have to give it a default region, and this is just where in the world I'm going to be by default setting up my systems. When I actually instantiate them, I can specify that. But for now, we'll just leave this as a default. I'm going to go next, and this is where I set the nodes that I'm going to be using. Okay, so this first node here, I'm just going to call this GR node, and I'm going to make it, let's call it this DS3. If I want to look and see what it is, I click this little eye and see the cores and whatnot. I'm going to add another node. I'm going to call this, let's say, an AOS node there. And hopefully the delay isn't too bad, and I'm not too far ahead of you guys. And let's see, I'll do another one. This will be my AOS 2. Okay. So once I've got that, I say, okay, well, this is about how much it'll cost. It's about 70 cents an hour for every credits an hour. If I'm doing a work week, would be the calculated work week there. If you're not really good with math, we did that for you. So you don't have to worry about that. So now I said, okay, well, I got those 3 nodes. What do I want each node to be? What are the specifics of each one of them? This will be I'm just going to say everything's going to be on this guy here. So you can say it's an in-touch access anywhere. And this will just say it's just going to be the runtime client. And this one here will be your runtime client, as well as an historian server on that guy there. So as I mentioned earlier, we're charging by the hour. I guess you're usually burning up credits by the hour. And so what I like to do is to make sure that I don't spend unused credits, because I'm just really cost sensitive kind of guy. I'm really conscious about that. So I'm spending John's money. I might as well be careful. So I'm gonna set up an automatic shutdown scheduler in here. So I'll click this and I'll say, well, I want to shut down by the time of day, and that day will be, or that time will be 6 o'clock p.m. because I work really late, like crazy late, and I don't want it to be deleted. This is actually in different situations where you want it removed after. Let's say you're maybe teaching a class and you're just going to get rid of them when you're done. And you do that, uncheck that. And whether or not I want it to be private or public. And this is just within my organization, whether it's going to be nothing outside of my organization will be able to see this even if it's set to public. But if in situations where, let's say I've got the SIs, I would set the public, and that would have, and that would change the owner so that the owner of the application is the SI that I've invited. For now, I'll just make it public. Again, this is just the overview of what I've got, and I'll click Create Project. Once that's done, I'm gone to my project section, and you'll see it right here. It's the one that I've set up. And now again, this is a project template. So to actually create the virtual machines, I would click the little button here, and I would click New Session. From here, I can give it a name. So this is going to be the sandbox. This is the 2020 R2 sandbox, based off that template I set up. And this is all the information that I put in that template. I can override that if I want to for this particular instance. Once I've done that, I will click Launch Session. I won't do it now, but once that'll happen, it'll create the virtual machines. It'll install all the software dynamically for you and get it up and running for you, ready to go there. Once I've already started these up, this is another one I've got going from the Magic. This is like the TV shows with the cooking show. The same thing, except that instead of cooking, we're just doing virtual machines. But anyway, so I'll go to connect to them. I'll click this button here. I've only got a 1 node set up on this one. Once I've done that, I've set up my RDP stuff here. So there's RDP stuff. This is a little bit new. You can set your username and password. This is configured by default. I can download the RDP file. Once I've done that, I can connect to it, with the exception of my RDP list, my whitelisting. So I've got to set that up. So I'm gonna go over here to the left, and I'm gonna go to my global RDP rules. And I can look for my IP address. So it automatically detected my IP address. Now, again, this is your public IP address. So if you're on a VPN or if you got some other software there that is masking that, you're going to need to figure out what your IP address is. But we detect your public IP address there to make it a little bit easier for you. So once you've done that, you would just copy that thing and put it in there. Actually, it's just, let me copy this one, and I'll just put it, I already have it in there. So I'm just going to say this is an 8, or let's say a 7. And then I'll click Add. And it's going to take a little bit. It's just kind of warning you, okay, we're going to do it, but we have to configure the system, and there's a little bit of a delay, so it won't work instantaneously. But it will eventually come in after a few seconds. So I got them here. These are the ones I've set up. I'm going to go back to my projects here, and now you'll see on this particular session, I can set up session RDP rules. And these are, again, just the ones that are specific to this particular instance here, and they won't be copied to the other sessions if you want by default. And you can see the session rules that have been applied to here. I've got the 2 global ones that I've made. This is the one that I made before, and this one that's in yellow mustard color is the one that I just set up as a global rule. And I can set up a session rule. This one here already has 1 session rule applied, and you can just apply it to this particular one if you want to there. And you can see here, I can't delete the global rules from here. They're grayed out. You can see it just popped in there. But I could delete the session rules. there.
Hey, Brian, this is Maury. Maybe we should continue this just because we're a little bit behind in your breakout session. I do apologize for jumping in the video.
Well, that was about it. I just wanted to make the connection. You really just stole my thunder there, Maury. I'm just going to say I didn't make the connection.
Well.
I'm just going to do it right now. So I'm just going to bring it up. We're going to do the connect. I mean, everybody wants to see this. I mean, probably everybody's chomping at the bit.
Yes, for sure.
Oh, I didn't copy it. So I went to go copy the password, and I copied the IP address instead. And I'm going to go in here. Okay. Oh God, multiple screens. Type in my password. Oh, it keeps going to the other screen.
There you go.
There we go. And there's my RDP session. Boom, nailed it. Okay. So there we go. And if you want, in the breakout session, let me go back to my presentation. Here we are. Integration Studio, come in for my breakout room. I'm serving drinks all day.